AM 1460, the new WXBR. You are listening to the Metro South Morning Show. Peter Czymbor and Mike Pava here with you on a Wednesday morning. This Saturday night at the TD Garden in Boston, the UFC returns to the Bay State for the first ever UFC fight card, airing live on Fox Sports 1. And taking part in the festivities of this fight night is Boston's own John Doomsday Howard, who joins us right now via the telephone. Doomsday, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Do people just call you Doomsday, or do people call you John?
Yep, if people call me Doomsday, everyone calls me Doomsday.
There we go. So we're chatting with John Doomsday Howard here on AM 1460, the new WXBR, taking on Uriah Hall this Saturday night at the Garden. This is your first time back in the UFC in 2.5 years. You campaigned to be a part of this show, knowing the UFC was returning to your hometown. How good do you feel knowing that you're back in the big leagues in your hometown?
Man, it's a great feeling, the greatest feeling in the world, man. I can't believe I'm back. I think UFC, Joe Silva, Dana White taking me back, man. It's awesome, awesome feeling.
Now, during the time you were outside of the UFC, you won 6 of your last 7 fights. How humbling of an experience was it for you to go from fighting in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, the biggest mixed martial arts organization in the world, to being back on the regional circuit and trying to work your way back up?
Man, it's really humbling, man. I went back to my basics. And I'm training my technique, getting my technique better, man, because I was a wild fighter. I go out there and try my best and just wing it. But now, man, I'm more technical, more focused than ever. And I just hit my prime being 30 years old, man. So I think it's the perfect time being back in the big show.
Of course, when you're inside the cage, the sport is the sport no matter where you are. What are some of the main differences between fighting in the UFC and fighting on the regional circuit?
The difference is definitely the skill level. You get some guys who are UFC vets or beating UFC vets, that's good. But it's definitely the skill level you got to worry about, man. You're in the UFC, you could be a champion once you're in the UFC. So the skill level is up there. That's a big difference. And the dedication, concentration. You know, if you're in the UFC, most guys train hard and fast. And I've been doing the same thing, man. So that's a big difference.
Once again, we're chatting with John Doomsday Howard here on AM 1460, the new WXBR. During your initial run in the UFC, you accrued a record of 4 wins, 3 losses. You won your first 4 fights in the UFC. You lost your final 3. It's a rule of thumb, more or less, for people that do follow mixed martial arts on a hardcore level, that if you lose 3 in a row, more often than not, you're getting cut from the UFC. After you lost your 3rd fight in a row, did you sort of sense that a cut was coming, and how did you feel?
I sort of sensed it. But what people can understand is that the 3 guys I fought was, top tier guys. They're all 10 top guys. Not Brown, Jake Alabama, T.I. Rivers, and they threw me hardcore guys, man. And I didn't get a chance to get reset, get my confidence back after having a big loss to Jake Alabama when my eye got messed up. But, man, it's lesson learned. Always be ready and stay in shape and always ready to go hard.
Now, this Saturday night, you'll be taking on Uriah Hall. Who exactly is Uriah Hall? He has significantly less experience than you in terms of a mixed martial arts career and only 1 fight in the UFC. What do you know about Uriah Hall, and what should we expect this Saturday?
Uriah Hall is a good striker, man. He was on the Ultimate Fighter Tough finale. He made it there. He's a well striker. I don't think he has a well-rounded game yet. He has a game, but he hasn't been with this long. I'm 20-8, 20 wins, 8 losses. He's 7-3, 7 wins, 3 losses. So it's going to be an experience for him. I'm going to use my experience against him and try to get the win like that. Or if not, go out there and fight the way I fight and get the knockout. I think he's good. He's a lot of hype. People are raving about him. I don't think he's a bad fighter. I don't think I think there's a lot of hype behind him. And I think once he feels, a UFC caliber fighting goal going to him, and it's not scared to get hit by him, it's going to be a different pressure. So I know he's trained to be ready. I'm ready. It's going to be a hell of a fight.
Once again, we're talking with John Doomsday Howard here on AM 1460, the new WXBR. He'll be in action Saturday night at the TD Garden in Boston as part of UFC Live on Fox Sports 1, taking on Uriah Hall. Dooms, seems like lately you've been fighting more often than not on the regional circuit in Rhode Island. Have you ever fought in your hometown of Boston, Massachusetts, and what was the experience like, and how different do you expect the experience to be this coming Saturday in a setting of the magnitude of the TD Garden?
Technically, I fought in Massachusetts and Revere, but not actually in Boston. It will be my first Boston fight, actually, and I'm so excited. Yeah, as far as Massachusetts, and they used to call it Corridos, and I think that's another there. And that's technically Massachusetts, and that's when I used to fight. But never technically in Boston, so I'm so excited. And I can't wait. I've been fighting Rhode Island. Shout out to CES MMA for taking care of me, to give me the right fights and the right opportunity I needed, to get back on the tier. And it was perfect timing, perfect everything. But it's just it's gonna be a little different fighting in Boston, but I'm excited. I can't wait, and honestly, I feel no pressure. I feel I'm not nervous, and the one of the reasons is because on paper, I looked online, they have him to win, and I don't understand why. He don't have an experience, he hasn't fought no major fights, but it is what it is. I think because he's more popular, and he's been on TV, and he has a little more fame than me. But that fame don't mean nothing when it comes to the kids and experience. So we're gonna see what happens. I'm gonna see what he brings. I know I'm bringing thunder and hell. I'm bringing the Doomsday definitely that night, and we're gonna see what happens.
So what you're saying is if any of our listeners want to head to Vegas and wager on this fight, you're good money to pick you to win?
I'll say this is a good buy right now because for some reason they got him winning this fight. He's a favorite. I don't understand why, but it's whatever. That means there's pressure on him. There's no pressure on me. It's a win-win situation for me. If I lose, I'm supposed to. If I win, I shock the world. And he's in a situation where I feel he has to win, and I'm just coming back to the UFC. So we're both hungry for fights. So it's going to be really interesting what happens.
Once again, we're chatting with John Doomsday Howard here on AM 1460, the new WXPR. During your initial UFC run, you fought more often than not at the mixed martial arts welterweight limit of 170 pounds. It's my understanding this Saturday's fight is a 185-pound middleweight matchup. Is this the weight class you intend to stay in?
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to see how I do, how I feel for this fight, and I think I can hang with him, or my plan is to beat him. If I could do it in a fashionable state, I think I'll stay at 185. I'm a short guy. I'm 5'7", but I'm a thick guy. I walk around, 205 or a little over sometimes, depending on how I'm in training camp. And even though it's only 15 pounds, people are like, well, he's going to be bigger than you. And that's fine with me. As long as I fight night, I'll be 200 pounds. And if he's 15 pounds bigger than me, it doesn't matter. It's like fighting like the heavyweights. You have heavyweights who walk around 230, fight at 230. You have others who fight at 265, and that's a 30 pounds difference. But still, it doesn't matter that size. It just matters about who's a better fighter. I feel the same way. If he was like 30, 40 pounds bigger than me, okay, maybe I'd be a little concerned. But I think he's only be 10 to 15 pounds, if even that, bigger than me, and that's no problem with me.
Once again, we're chatting with John Doomsday Howard here on AM 1460, the new WXBR. You mentioned that you walk around at 200 pounds, and in the past you had cut down to 170 pounds to make the welterweight limit in UFC. How tough of a weight cut is that? How much more comfortable is 185 for you?
170 was a terrible cut, man. I used to hate it, man. I used to cut, be 30, 40 pounds, man. It used to be, that was hell, man. That was more than hell. I never complained about it. I just did it. But now I wanted to cut, 15 pounds. I could do that in a day like nothing. So, I mean, it's the better feel, it's the better on my body. It's less stress on my body. I feel good, man. I think I'm going to be a beast at 185.
You mentioned you can weigh at 185. You can cut that weight in a day like nothing. How exactly do you cut weight? How exactly do you get down to 185? You do it gradually in training? You're the type of guy the day of the weigh-in hits the sauna and weighs in at 185 and rehydrates?
No, I do it with day of the weigh-ins, and I just rehydrate. Do a rehydration process, and I'm good. I've been training with a lot of wrestlers, and I've been learning how to cut with wrestlers. Some of these guys can cut 20 pounds in a day, so that's what I've been doing. Learning how to cut right, and I used to do it 30 pounds or 15 pounds in a day is nothing. It's still gonna suck, but it's not gonna suck as bad. But I used to do that weight.
If it wasn't for combat sports, I don't know what the folks at Pedialyte would do. I don't know who would buy their product, because every time I've been to a weigh-in, they step on the scale, Pedialyte to rehydrate. You
got to, man, because you need that right electrolytes and sugars put back in your body, and Pedialyte really hydrates you right away. So it's the right thing to do, man. You got to do it.
We're chatting with John Doomsday Howard here on AM 1460, the new WXPR, in action at UFC in Boston this Saturday night. John, last week on the program we had Boston City Council President Stephen Murphy come onto the show, who was trying to get a resolution passed that would not allow children under the age of 18 to attend mixed martial arts events like the UFC event in Boston this Saturday. He said not based on the violent content of the fights inside the cage, but based on the fact that he felt that mixed martial artists outside the cage are not good role models for children. How would you respond to that?
I don't understand that comment because that's like saying baseball players, football players are not good role models outside the cage. No disrespect to any other athletes, but you don't hear mixed martial artists killing people. You hear about that in the NFL, and currently some of them still playing in the NFL. So, I don't understand that comment. How we're not good role models? We are martial artists. We teach kids self-defense, women self-defense, defenses. That's what we do. I'm a little offended that he even say something like that, because if you can say like that, then you must have been all athletes, because there's the athletes who not only do drugs, steroids, kill people and stuff like that, and they still performing athletes. What kind of role model is that? You have people in the NFL, who've been claimed, they murder someone. I don't know, maybe they get off clean, but even to be in a situation like that, sure, that's not a good role model. But yet, he's more qualified to be role model kids than mixed martial artists? No. I'm really offended by that. I don't get that. What we do is a combat sport, okay? We would say it's a violent sport. Football is just as violent as MMA, okay? We got two guys, we're running the hardest possible, colliding, and these guys are 200 pounds each. And when they collide, people get knocked out, get hurt, broken arms all the time. And half the time, sometimes these guys end up dead because they collide. But yet, football is in high schools. Okay? And I was a football player. I'm not just a football or anything, but I know the sacrifice and the injuries you get for football. It's a real full-on contact sport. MMA is no different. It's a full contact sport, combat sport. At the end of the day, it is a sport. And I don't think he said only that the kids are the weapon. If he says that, he should be not biased to MMA, but biased to anything that's full contact, such as football, and say that about football. And I guarantee he will not say that about football.
It seemed to me like he was taking a few select fighters in the sport and taking a few select incidents and almost painting the entire sport that way. And that's probably an unfair characteristic to guys like you.
Yeah, it's really unfair. I teach kids. I teach women rape prevention. I teach self-defense. I teach confidence. I teach self-discipline. Okay, I don't see these football players doing it. I'm not to disrespect them, nothing like that. They're great athletes, but you hear it time and time. Athletes driving drunk, getting in accidents. Athletes shooting people, killing people, or accused of that. Okay, or having some kind of coordination with that, or involved in that. You don't hear about that MMA fighters. So I'm saying you cannot accuse, pick a few bad apples and wreck the whole tree. No. I'm saying if you're going to accuse of that, take those few bad apples and Pacifics and be Pacific. But to try to have a few guys and bring the whole, you can't do that. I can't do it for the NFL. I can't say, well, wow, this guy did this guy did that. The whole NFL league is bad. No, that's really not cool. It's really unfair. And I really disagree with that. If he's going to say that, it has to be across the board with all contact sports. If not, then no, give him credit when credit is due. No.
Once again, we're chatting with John Doomsday Howard here on AM 1460, the new WXPR. John, you mentioned that you teach. I believe you teach at wai-kru. Do you teach the wai-kru here on the Brockton-West Bridgewater border of where we're located in Brockton?
Yep, I teach on wai-kru South Shore and on wai-kru Austin. I teach at both places, yes.
And where can people find more information on how to take your classes and learn self-defense and whatnot?
You can go to wai-kru online, wai-kru.com. You can come down to wai-kru South Shore. I believe it's 728 Main Street. I don't know the exact address. I'm bad at address right now. You come to wai-kru in Boston, Austin, 236 Brighton Ave. Come down anytime, or just go to the website and you see me. I teach there. Not all the time. When I have fights, I have to separate my teacher from fighting. But when I'm off training camp, I do teach there.
One of these days when you were in the Brockton area, you're going to have to swing by the studios. All right, Doomsday?
Definitely. I could absolutely do that. Sounds good.
That's John Doomsday Howard joining us here on AM 1460, the new WXPR. Catch him in action this Saturday night at the Boston Garden. It'll air on Fox Sports 1. You're listening to the Metro South Morning Show here on AM 1460, the new WXPR. Peter Czymbor here with you. We'll take a quick break. Mike Pava joins us from the WXPR newsroom after this.